very simply, Jim, have the boys got what happened last weekend out of their system?
Yeah, I think so. We've had a really good week's training. Obviously, everybody was extremely disappointed with the way the game panned out last weekend. There's no shame in getting beat off of Celtic, but I think when it's, the scoreline is what it was, conceding 5 goals, very unlike us as a group. And Celtic were really on it on the day, and unfortunately they had too much for us. But we haven't dwelled on it. We know how important the upcoming 4 games are, and that starts this weekend against Hibs at Easter Road.
And has that very much been the message to the guys, that forget that it's all still to play for?
Yeah, I mean, these big games are the ones that you want to be involved in. Had we finished in the bottom half, then you could argue that the games and the fixtures might have been a little bit more easier than what we're going to face now. But that is the reward, I suppose, for finishing in the top 6. So every game that we go into, we're going to be playing against really good opposition. But the 4 teams that we've got to face coming up, we've done really well against all of them throughout the course of the campaign, and we want to get back to winning ways, and hopefully that'll be on Saturday.
Sometimes results like what happened against Celtic can knock teams off their stride. Do you have any concerns that could be the case for you guys, or have you seen enough in the training ground with the character in the group to not allow that to happen?
I think the group has shown all season, the type of characters that are within it. I mean, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in had we not had, strong mentality within the group. So, Celtic, are by far and away the best team in the league. It's not the first time that they've put 5 goals by a team, and I'm pretty sure it, won't be the last between now and the end of the season either. When they are in form, playing the way that they're playing, with the speed that they've got in the team, they're a very, very difficult team to play against. For the opening 20 minutes, we were actually very good and very much in the game. But good teams eventually figure out a way to break you down, and that's what Celtic did. So, as I said, we haven't focused too much on it from Sunday onwards. We obviously have a quick debrief on the Monday, and then we move on. Our season will not be defined by what happened last weekend. Whatever happens from here on out, it'll be a successful campaign for this group of players, given that we're a newly promoted team. But of course, the fact that we've put ourselves in this position of being 3 points off third in the table with 4 games to go, I think it's really exciting for the players, for the supporters, the fact that we're still in the fight for those European places.
As you say, 3 points off third place. Just in terms of the kind of scrap that's going on to finish as the best of the rest behind the Old Firm, is this a must-win game from a Dundee United point of view?
I think there's still time left. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a must-win, but it's certainly what our attitude is going to be going into it, that we want to win the game. I'm sure David Gray and the Hibs players will be disappointed that amazing unbeaten run that they were on came to an end last weekend, and no doubt they'll want to get back to winning ways as well. But look, I'm pretty sure the majority of people out there will probably see us as the underdogs in this fight for third place. I don't think it would be too much of a surprise to see the likes of Hibs and Aberdeen up there competing at that end of the table. It's where those kind of clubs should be, given the resources and the finances that they have available to them. So, as I said, the fact that we're only 3 points behind both those teams at this stage is a credit to the group and the good work that they've done throughout the season.
And I guess a lot of people will maybe be looking at Hibs to see how they react to losing, because it's not something that they've experienced very often over the last few months.
No, I mean, look, David Gray's done a remarkable job, given where they were late last year, November, December time, around about the bottom of the table, to go on the type of run that they went on then was great credit to him and to those players, for bringing themselves right back up the table and in the position that they're in. So we know what to expect. They're a very, very good side. They've got really good experienced players throughout the team. The recruitment, I think, has been very good. They've got a really strong squad. They've got a number of good quality players in each position, and they can make like for like changes at the drop of a hat. So we have to be prepared for every eventuality, but we want to get back to winning ways ourselves. We want to put on a really strong performance. Prior to the Celtic game, we had won our previous 3 fixtures, kept 3 clean sheets. So getting back to the basics, I think, after a defeat like last Saturday is really important.
Team news?
Ross Graham, unfortunately, will miss out again. Lewis Fiorini comes back into the squad.
And is there any update in terms of some of the boys that are out of contract? Is there anything fresh to report?
No, nothing fresh to report, no.
Perfect, thank you.
Jim, you spoke about being underdogs in this fight for third. Is that something you're trying to get the players to relish at the moment?
No, not really. I mean, look, we've had good results and good performances against both Hibs and Aberdeen this season, so we have to believe going into the games that we're capable of winning, because we've done it in the past. But what I mean is, from an outsider looking in, I think a lot of the talk is around about Hibs and Aberdeen, and there is no surprise in that when you see the money that both teams have spent. I think Aberdeen, close to 3 million this year in transfers, and Hibs will be probably in excess of 1 million. So the fact that with the resources that we've had available to us this season, that we're able to go toe to toe with these two teams, I think it's great credit to the squad and to the backroom team that we've been able to stay in the fight. But I don't mind the underdog tag. I think it certainly does relieve some of the pressure. But at the same time, we've got every faith and belief in the group that we're capable of getting a result on Saturday and putting ourselves right back in it.
There's been a lot of talk this week about Sam Dolby with Wrexham getting promotion. He's obviously contemplating where his future lies. Have you had any chats with him about his future?
Yeah, I mean, we've had loads of discussions, and Sam knows exactly what we as a club think of him, and me as manager. I know he's really enjoyed his time in Scotland and here at Dundee United in particular. And I think he's being sensible along with his representatives of let's get the season over and weigh up all the different options that'll be on the table to him in the summer. One of those options will be Dundee United, and we'll do all we can to try and make sure he's here for next season.
Have you got any indication of where his head's at, or is it more just a case of he's focusing on his football just now and then it's after that?
No, I mean, look, I don't talk to him on a daily basis about it, but we have had a number of conversations. The important thing for me is that Sam's full focus is on the next 4 games, and getting back among the goals and doing what he's done well for us consistently all season. Where his future lies, that'll be decided in good time, and he's got every right to weigh up all the good offers that he's going to have on the table, and then make a decision from there.
In terms of your opinion, do you think Wrexham taking that next step up would affect things, or could affect things, whether it's Dolby or any player? What would you say to that?
Oh, listen, I honestly don't know. I mean, Sam was competing among a number of really good strikers at Wrexham. Wrexham are an up-and-coming club, as we know, with the financial backing that they've got there. They were able to go out and spend £2 million on a striker, last January. So I think the loan has been a really successful one for us. Initially, obviously, for Sam to get back among the goals and play consistently at a really high level, and from Wrexham's perspective, I suppose it gave them a really good opportunity to see Sam playing against some difficult opposition, which I'm sure has proven to them that Sam can make that step up. So it will remain to be seen what Wrexham and the manager there decide to do with regards to Sam, or whether Sam fancies a fresh challenge or not. That's up to Sam and his family and his representatives to decide.
Just a final one from me. Kevin Nisbet had a bit of a moment of magic last weekend, and that proved to be the difference between Aberdeen and Hibs. Do you fancy anyone to recreate a moment like that if it arises?
No, that would be lovely. I mean, being defensively solid is important for us. Aberdeen were last weekend and managed to keep a clean sheet against a very good attacking Hibs team. And of course you're hoping that somebody, I don't really care who it is, but can step up with a moment of quality to go and win the game. But if it's a scrappy goal, I'll take that too.
You've talked a lot about transfers and what's going to be happening for next season without going into detail. Have you got a budget already in place for that, or is it going to be dependent on people leaving Tannadice to determine who's going to come in, or What sort of plan is
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been having really positive conversations with the CEO and the owner regarding the budget for next season. I think it's been well documented, and in terms of when the team was last in the Premiership, in terms of the overspend that was there within the squad, and the changes that we had to make things a bit more sustainable. We've done that with a lot of hard work, not from me, but from the chief executive and the board and the owner, in terms of cutting costs to make things a bit easier. But I'm not sitting here pleading poverty. At the end of the day, I don't think we've got as big a budget as the likes of Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen, but I would imagine we've got a bit more than others in the league. But I think to continue to move the club forward, of course, that the budget needs to grow with it in order to bring in a better quality of player, and that's ultimately what we all want, and we want to do that in a really sensible fashion. I think with the turnout of supporters that we've had this year, I think we've averaged over 11,000 fans in the home games. I think we've smashed the recent season ticket record for the early sales as well this week, so it shows that the supporters are there. So with that, we'll obviously bring more money into the club, and European football plays a huge part in that as well. If we can guarantee ourselves some European football this summer, then that will certainly help with the money coming in.
Looking at the Hibs game this weekend, obviously the importance is there for all to see, and 3 points of a difference would draw you level. But the factor that Hibs still have to play Celtic, does that give you sort of a more prominent position to if you win this game on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we were unfortunate with the way the fixtures fell. The fact that we got Celtic first after the split, and given what was on the line for them, but knowing Brendan Rodgers and the Celtic players like I do, I know that they will remain professional and they'll want to go and win every game between now and the end of the season. They've got a number of different records that they're aiming for themselves as a group, so anybody that plays against Celtic between now and the end of the season, I'm pretty sure will have to be at their best if they're going to get a result against them. But yeah, I mean, look, we knew all the fixtures were going to be tough. There are no easy games in this league, and particularly in the top half of the table. But what you mentioned there was if we go and win the game, then that all of a sudden puts us level on points with Hibs, and then it depends on what happens in Paisley. I don't think I would be too surprised if St Mirren got a result against Aberdeen, given the good form that Stephen Robinson's team is in. So we're still in the fight. That's all we can ask for, and that's all we can continue to do. And we want to try and make sure that we finish the season off on a really positive footing. We don't want this season just to peter out. We want to stay in the fight for third place, and we'll keep going right to the end.
There are a number of players in the squad who've never played in Europe and been involved in Europe. Is that sort of a thing that's helping buzz them and make them obviously lift up a bit?
Yes, of course. I mean, look, myself included, I haven't been involved in European football on at a club level before either. So it's something that I'm desperate to experience, and as are the players, and you know how much it means to the supporters as well. They would love the chance to support their team abroad somewhere in a competitive game, and so there's a lot at stake. Adds to the pressure, but it's exciting.